Today, it is my goal and my guest's goal today to make a bigger impact on you and show you how you can begin to make a bigger impact on yourself so that you can begin to make a bigger impact on your community and then the world. So today, as we go through this podcast, I encourage you to ask yourself this question. How can I make a bigger impact on myself today so that I can make the bigger impact of my dreams on the world? With that in mind, welcome to the show. I am Braiden Belnap. This is Gonzalo Martinez. And we have a unique person in the room today. He's an extraordinary person. He started the brand Invictus, and he's sharing his messages with people and changing one society, one community at a time. And he did that by changing his life first.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Braiden, for having me. First and foremost, I'm grateful for the opportunity that you gave me to be here and, to share some important insight. I feel like this message in general cannot be shared enough with other people, especially because it involves all of us, and it's something really important that everyone should be looking after, and, when I started this brand and, this that I made was mainly because I wanted to share this knowledge, and to make an impact, like you said, and I feel like that's the main thing. That's the main goal when it comes to, making something, if you're making a brand, you're making a podcast, then, its ultimate purpose is to make an impact on somebody else, maybe help someone realize that they can live a better life,
Of course. And to speak to that, I don't know if you know much of my story and with any of the viewers, but at the age of 13 is actually the beginning when I started to get into drugs and alcohol. And at some point down that journey, I started to want change, but I was wanting it. I didn't make the choice to change. I stuck in this rut for a long time. And unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of people stay in ruts, and that's why this message can't be shared enough.
Yeah. And I feel, a lot of people, I feel like everyone in general goes through anything, like some sort of roughness in life that can also wake them up, because I feel like in the end, life, that's what it's all about, going through things, learning through the process. A lot of times things don't go our way and they're a little rough on us, and for things like that, they can be pretty rough, and a lot of people get stuck on that forever. And to be able to recognize that and be able to grow from that, I feel like that's a beautiful part of it, and, for a lot of people and everyone that deals with that, I can, just say that, wow, I would never be able to understand that part. And I just have so much respect for people like you, for people like every other individual that has dealt with those type of problems and have come, victorious in the end, that they've been able to figure them out and, prosper in the end. So,
of course, I love that. Now, to speak to that, I feel like there must have been a day that you chose to change your life as well.
Yeah.
Is there a moment that you remember, today is my day that my life's going to change?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I always talk about this with my friends. And with the people that I love, with the people that I'm trying to maybe help out, maybe, share my perspective. I did have a time in which my life kind of took a path that I did not want to take, and it wasn't nothing crazy, but it had to do a lot with my identity, had to do a lot with how I view myself and the way that I view myself and the expectations, I guess, that my parents also have for me, my family, a lot that had to do with my religious beliefs and everything that just didn't go together. And that's when everything just went downhill for me. And I could say that was the roughest part of my life. And I remember this one day that, everything had gone down, and I felt like I was at my lowest. That's when I realized I just sat down in my room and I just thought and said, you know what, like, I don't like feeling like this. This is not me, and I had no idea what to do whatsoever. But speaking of atomic habits, as I was telling you earlier, That one book, someone had gifted it to me for my birthday. And so up until that point, it was about November, December. But my birthday is in January. So I had that book sitting for almost a year and I hadn't read it up until that point. And so, I had no idea what to do. And the only thing I could think of in the moment is, let's see what this book is all about, And in the moment that, I opened it, I also paired it with the scriptures, with the religious scriptures, and I started reading both of those together, and I think that was the first step to me for, that I took to become better and to try and get out of that rough place that I was in, and that's why like reading has like a special part in my heart. It's just because I know what it did for me, and what it can do for other people as well. And so definitely that day was the day that I said, enough of this, this is not me. I deserve better for myself, and I want to do better things, And so definitely that was the one time that kind of changed everything for me.
I love that. It's powerful. I often say if you can become more, you can achieve more. And through me understanding that more, I've looked into some studies and things of that nature. And I love that you say that you paired it with the scriptures, because whether we're talking about somebody going through drugs or somebody that lacks purpose or somebody going through depression, it's not just theory anymore. It's scientifically proven that if somebody believes in somebody higher or something higher than themselves, they will naturally live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that aspect of you reading and going to the scriptures to me is just proof in itself that you desired a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And you went for it.
Yeah. And, it had a lot to do with how I was, raised, because the church and everything, it was always a big part of my family. So it was, everything that had to do with the church, I had always, been familiar with, and so it was never like something that I didn't believe in, but it was something I was neglecting. I feel like that's the correct word. And so for the most part, I thought to myself, well, if I know that I'm lacking this, then this is definitely something that is part of the answer, And when it came down to, reading both books at the same time and kind of like complementing that, each other with, it was just like magic, finding that purpose that you're saying, just how Atomic Habits talks about building the foundation with small little things. That changed the whole game for me, because, back then I did not have any habits. I did not have any type of discipline. I was just, I was at the lowest point of my life, and knowing that I could build myself up from nothing and starting from the smallest things, then that changed it all for me, and being able to pair that with what you said, the spiritual side of it, then it gave it like a whole different meaning. So it was like I said, like magical to me, because, from feeling this low and being able to get this much insight and this much, information is so valuable, then it kind of helped me out so much in the end that, it still has a place in my heart, like that book, and, one of my favorites by far. And so whenever someone asks me what book I recommend for them to, either start reading or to improve their life, that is one that I would always recommend, and that is tied with my own story. So
your own story. Can I ask what age you were when you went through that?
Yeah, that was actually not that far ago. I was about to turn 19, so just a month before I turned 19. So it's a little bit more than a year. So that was pretty recent, and so before that, I had never read a book. I had gone to the gym, and I was pretty consistent with it, but for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot of the times people use either the gym, either parties, either anything to escape their reality, and that is when, in the end, like the gym is a good thing, but if it's for the wrong reason, sometimes it might lead to not being balanced for your life. And so by finding this purpose and analyzing what I could do and what I wanted in life, then I could align properly my habit of going to the gym and then build more habits upon that. That's that's what that book allowed me to do.
So let's sit, and I guess to even take this back a little over a year. In that year, 1, you're starting to build an amazing community. 2, you've built an amazing brand. Your life's like black and white with just a year.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy because, you know, like we were talking earlier, it's always been within me to wanting more. Definitely something about myself. It wasn't something that I discovered just barely. You know, when all of that happened, it was when I just got a little lost, you know? And I feel like that happens to everyone. Everyone has a moment in their lives where they're not really acting like themselves, you know? And it just takes analyzing on yourself, working on yourself to realize who you're really trying to be. And so for me, since I was growing up, I always had the idea that I wanted to do something, you know, that I worked on myself and that I did by myself. And so the brand was always, I guess, there. You know, it started with previous businesses. It started with other things that I always wanted to do to start. Never really had the idea how to do it properly or anything like that. But I always had that thought in mind. When I started to build my foundation, work on the essentials, work on, you know, reading on my little habits on writing, journaling, and doing all of those things, I realized that that empowered me to start the bigger things like my brand and give it the purpose that it needed, you know, give it the mission that it needed. So yeah, in the end, there's been a lot of change, a lot of work, and there's still a lot of work to do with the brand, with myself, and I guess the beautiful part of falling in love with the process is that you know that you are always getting better. You know, you're always working to get better, and so nothing's ever gonna be perfect. So a lot of the purpose is to improve every single day. So.
Yeah. And I love what you just said there. And it goes down to a lot of people say, you know, go with the flow, with the river, right? And I agree with that. It's important to enjoy the journey and go with the flow, but it's also important to paddle as fast as you can to get to the journey. Because if you just flow too much, just like at the end of the sides of each river, there's stagnant water and it's gross. And if you just flow, you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
But you saw where you wanted to go. You wanted to enjoy life and enjoy the journey, but you also made sure to paddle quickly so that you could get to where you wanted to be.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, a lot that has to do with that is, you know, there's a lot of things, most things we cannot control, but the one thing that we can control is ourselves, you know? And so when it comes down to going down the river, I like to think that we're on control, you know, or where we're going as far as the actions that we take.
Yes.
And so as far as it goes with the purpose of my brand, for example, is to teach people that they can do whatever they want in life, and, you know, and they can achieve it through hard work, through the dedication that they put in things and the things that they love. And knowing that they can do this regardless of what anyone says, regardless of anything, you know, as long as they believe in themselves, they can achieve anything that they want. And as far as, you know, as this goes, that's what the purpose of my brand is. And that's what I feel like my personal mission is to share this with the world and share this with everyone that is, you know, that is possible, that they can achieve anything, you know. And I feel like a lot of the times people limit themselves a lot when it comes down to setting goals. You know, a lot of people just, you know, they settle with the 9 to 5. They settle with the expectations of others. They settle with what's normal, what's usual. And they don't really get to touch on the parts that they really want. They don't really get to touch on the parts of themselves that they really want, so that they wish that they don't get to be the people that they wish they could be.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do, again, with the little things that they do on the daily. You know, you cannot achieve great things if the small things are not on point, you know, if they're not as sharp as possible. And so when it comes down to, people asking or anyone that wants any type of advice, I always tell them, what helped me and what I think that helps most people is to get the foundation strong and then work on the bigger things and everything. So yeah, definitely when it comes down to the smaller things, they're so important when it comes to building your own identity, and who you always have to ask that question, who am I trying to be, and then how do my actions align with this? And so it's so important to always have, your purpose in mind, because once your purpose, if your purpose is not clear, then your actions can be just, about everywhere. They're not really that focused. And so it's really important for people to always be wondering and always be self-analyzing on the person that they're trying to be in the end, and so for that, the brand, its ultimate purpose is for me to share this, and for it to be more common among everyone, that they can do whatever they want, that they can achieve their goals, and that they can even set those goals in the first place, because a lot of people just don't believe that. I don't know. It's just the people, the negativity that I've been faced on with my life, that I've been, that I've gone through, and the people that have told me like, oh no, like you're this, you're that, and a lot of that when I was younger, kind of like defined the way that I felt about myself, And so for me, I always hated that, and I didn't know much better. But then I learned that the expectations of others, the opinions of others, don't really define the person that you really are. You define that. The mission and the purpose that I have for the brand is for this to be a common thing, for people to actually realize that they get to decide who they are in the end.
I love that. And you're right, because we're all told who to be and what to do in this world. And if you're told who to be and what to do, then you'll get XYZ result. But the XYZ result that's so normal is not exciting to everybody. And no, it's not purposeful. Like you said, it's very crucial to really see who you want to be and what value you want to hold in this world, and then go do what you want to do. And it's okay to color outside the lines and go enjoy life a little bit, right? Yeah. And do what you want to do. Yeah. Whether that's building a brand or content or community, whatever the face is, we don't need to do the normal things.
Yeah.
But I want to bring it back to the Bible and how you essentially paired the Bible with the book. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to watch this that are like, man, I'm struggling. Having anxiety and depression, and I've never been faced with this before. And I hate this. I just want to feel like me again.
Yeah.
Let's say they take that step. They pick up how did I leave my name? The book name. What was it?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. I know it was Habits. Yeah. I just forgot Atomic. Let's say they picked up Atomic Habits. How do they pair that with the Bible? That way they can pair God to their purpose and being better.
So back to what I was saying, it almost felt as if it was magical of how it worked. But it just made sense. When I was reading a pair to pair, and a lot of the times it wasn't like I was reading two books at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It was like I would read one and then read the other. And then somehow what he said had to do in some way with what I was reading in the Bible. And so for the most part, I think that's the amazing part of the human brain, is how it can pick up on what you're looking for. And that is not only true to books, but it's also true to whatever it is. Like, have you ever noticed that when you're on the freeway and then you're thinking about a red car, and then suddenly you see red cars everywhere? It's the same thing. So when you are looking for an answer, you're likely to find it. When you're looking for a problem, you're likely to find it as well. And so what I would say to someone that's struggling with, say, depression, say with, lacking purpose, is to have in mind what you want first and who you're not trying to be. Like, if you're not trying to be depressed, you're not trying to be the person that you currently are, then who do you want to be? And once you figure that out, once you figure that out, then you can actually get the information once you read it, because these books are filled with great information, but it depends. It's up to everyone that reads it, that take the proper sense to each and individual life, because in the end, everyone's different and everyone's going through different things. So it's gonna take, when you read it, it takes a specific purpose to your situation. So you kind of like, you find the answers once you read it, and so it kind of makes sense to you. It speaks to you because it's the things that you're looking for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's what I'm hearing is it's the intention.
Yeah,
you intentionally were reading Atomic Habits to change your habits, to set the foundation so that you could build bigger things upon that. I'm sure you didn't really see that when you were in the moment.
Yeah,
but looking back on it, you knew that reading Atomic Habits set your foundation, which allowed you to build bigger and better things now.
Yeah, definitely.
But it comes down to the intention of, who do I want to be? Who does Braiden want to be? Who does Gonzalo want to be? Or whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
And having the intention of, I'm reading this book so I can be this person. And I'm pairing it with the scriptures or Buddhism teachings, whatever religious beliefs you have, so that I can become the person I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, the intention, that's the perfect word. Because, you can read whatever book, just aimlessly and, not having any purpose for it. And it can just be words, you can just be reading whatever it is. But if you're looking for a specific and you pair it with the right information, then that's when it makes sense to you, And so that's the beautiful part of it. And specifically, with a book that like Atomic Habits, it's great to have that book as a starter, just because of the great things and insight that it gives you to actually start working on yourself from the bottom. Because a lot of the books obviously are a little bit more specialized. I feel like they're more specific, I would say, but this one's like more general as to whoever like reads it can actually build. It doesn't really matter at what point in your life you are, And so it's definitely a book that I recommend always to everyone. Even, my mom, like I was telling you earlier, that she's a psychologist. She'll see, teenagers that are 15, 14, that are depressed, that are dealing with, pornography problems, or, just like they're just dealing with problems at school. They don't want to go out, things like that, and a lot of that, she asked me like, what book would you recommend to these kids? Like what book would you read if you were struggling with something like this? And I tell them, like Atomic Habits, when she knows when I was going through my things, and I told her like when I was going through that, that's the book that it helped me the most. That's the book that picked me from the bottom, And so that's something that I always tell her to recommend to kids that are, younger, that don't really know where to start. Because, when we're young, it's hard to know what to do with our lives, like not everyone's going to have it figured out. Even when you're 20, when you're 25, a lot of people just go with the flow, but to have habits and to have that foundation that gives you the control, the control necessary for you to take your own decisions in the future, and to have a better perspective of what you truly want to do, even if you don't know in the moment,
Totally.
And so yeah, definitely that was something that I always tell her to recommend to people that are dealing with that type of stuff. But any other book, there are other books like, The Compound Effect. There are books that are great. There's another book that I read that is called The Slight Edge, and they're all books that have to do with that, to analyzing and realizing that there's more potential in you than what you're doing right now, and realizing that. And that brings me to another great point, that is awareness, because a lot of the times, you cannot change for the better if you're not aware that where you're at is not the greatest place, I feel like everyone and every single person has an infinite potential to achieve whatever they want. But do everyone achieves this potential? No. And this is because, they don't realize that, they're not aware. And a lot of the times people just settle down on where they at and with the things that they're doing, and this doesn't allow them to learn and see that they could be doing so much better, that they could be doing other things, and the things that they actually want to do,
Totally.
they don't pursue that purpose. And so with the brand, that is another huge thing that we're trying to implement into society, is for everyone to realize how much potential they have, because I saw it within myself, sitting down in my room, no habits, no nothing, no job. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. And just kind of like sitting down and I'm like, what do you want in life? Like, is this really you? Is this really like the maximum potential or like the maximum that you're going to achieve? And even me, I guess a little bit of my ego, I was like, no, like there's no way, there has to be more for me. And so that's where awareness and just kind of analyzing gets you started to kind of, say, I deserve more for myself. And that,
seeing the value that you offer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a matter of just, this is who I want to be, and I'm going to go and get it.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes a little bit of, self-esteem, self-confidence. It takes a little bit of courage to say this type of things. And for someone that's struggling, that's not always going to be the easiest thing of the world. But it's an important step to at least analyze and be honest with yourself. Sometimes all it takes is to say, well, the reality is that I'm not happy. I might not know why, but it all starts there, with analyzing, and then it kind of comes through after. You kind of like ask the questions, and then you start finding the answers within yourself, because you cannot lie to yourself,
Yeah, and you're the only person that you can't lie to.
Exactly.
And like you said, it's the actions, right? Yeah. If you can set your foundation, let's say somebody starts with Atomic Habits, you naturally will set the foundation for your life. And yeah, we want to go achieve those goals. And yeah, we want to go and see the vision where we want to go. But at the end of the day, if we could just win our day after day after day with our habits, naturally you will win in life.
Yeah.
It's not an if at that point, it's a when, because you're winning every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings another great point that I, barely got from a different book. I read it in The Psychology of Money, just barely, how, being negativity is usually more popular or more accepted than positivity. And that was something that kind of like, surprised or like interested me a little bit, just because how true it is. And it kind of explained how, when you tell someone like, oh, like the future is bright and, everything's going to be good and everything's going to be great. They think that you're naive. They think that you're, kind of like unrealistic, I guess. And when you tell them, oh, the world is going to end soon, or like, the economy is bad, this is bad, politics, this and that, people like pay attention. They're like, oh, and they're more receptive to negativity naturally. And I was reading that and it explained why. And it says how negative things and the bad things can happen in an instant, can happen in the moment. You can lose your confidence in the moment. You can, have a bad day, break a habit in a moment. But good things, they take a while to compound and to happen. They take effort. They take day by day, a daily effort to build something good. And that is why sometimes the good goes unnoticed, where the bad is always talked about. It's because the bad, is everywhere and it can happen in the moment. But when it comes to the good things, the good habits, and an actual, something that you're working on, it takes day after day. And sometimes even then, for the person that is doing it, a lot of the times, you're going to feel like maybe you don't even see the results yourself, and you wonder, is this really working? Like, and for me back then with Atomic Habits, reading it, a lot of the times it felt like this, And so when I read this, it was like, you know what, this is true. A lot of the times you don't really see that progress, and you feel like you're not really making any at all. But because it's so subtle that it compounds. But then, you know, when I'm sitting here and I look at myself 1 year ago, I'm like completely different people. You know, I'm completely different as to where I started. And so, you know, when it comes to bad things, it's always so quick, but good things do take a while to compound, and that is something to keep in mind. That when you're trying to become better, be a better person, you also have to be patient. Just with like with anything, a company, you know, a podcast, anything. Good things take time and patience.
Exactly, and it's a matter of, you don't want to judge yourself by your wins. You want to judge yourself by your losses, because yes, good things take time. We know that relationships take time with ourselves, with people. Companies take time to build. But also, when you lose, those are the most vulnerable times that you can have your most breakthroughs. Because let's say I completely lose the day on sales, or I completely lose the day on my habits. I lost my days. Well, that may cause me so much pain. Let's say I lost the last month. I failed at my relationships, my habits, working out, everything. I might be at my lowest from a long time, but I might be in my most pain. But I also know what it was like to feel really damn good. And so my transformation could happen in a moment, the moment you choose to say, you know what, no more. I'm going to transform right now.
Yeah.
And that breakthrough, your loss and then your breakthrough may be the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Because without those failures, without that pain, you wouldn't have had that drive, that fuel to say, you know what, I'm bouncing back and today's my day.
Yeah. And that is awesome. I feel like when it comes to building something like, say, habits or, you know, gym progress or a brand, takes time, but to change your attitude, which is what you brought up, that takes an instant as well, for the positive and the negative. But, you know, for the positive, it gives you so much power to say, you know what, I don't want this for myself, and I'm going to change right now because I can do it, you know, and because I want to. And that gives you so much power to move forward with your life and then start compounding on the little things, you know? And so I totally agree with that. Sometimes for the good and for the bad, our attitude defines everything, you know, because if you have a bad attitude, you're not going to get a good outcome in the end, you know?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Now, to speak to that, let's say I'd like to share, if you're at your lowest, if you have a bad attitude, if you have low confidence, that's okay. Just observe and be aware of that. So you stated it's awareness, recognize where you're at and recognize where you want to be. But don't judge yourself, because more transformation doesn't come from more judgment. Accepting yourself relieves you from the anxiety and the depressions, which allows you to move forward more effectively.
I agree.
From there, don't go from 1 to 100. The reason 99.9% of people fail after the third week in January, going to the gym or whatever the case is because they try to go from 1 to 100. If you want to pick up a book and you never did, promise yourself to read a page a day. Start small. And then that compounding of wins, your confidence will just stack on top of itself. And at some point within the last year, just like Gonzalo over here, you'll be able to look back on the year and you'll have unwavering confidence, because you'll have stacks of reasons why you should be confident. You'll have all these wins, even though it started so small. Yeah,
no, definitely. That is crucial, you know, starting small, I guess, you know, when it talks about, for example, Atomic Habits, when it talks about setting goals, it talks about how you have to have a system for it. You know, you have to have an actual way that you're going to accomplish something, because like you said, for the people that, a lot of the people that, you know, have their goal to go to the gym on New Year's Eve or whatever, they always just have a plain goal of like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. every day and train 3 hours, and I'm going to do this and that and turn my body and transform and whatever. But they don't really set the small steps, you know, they don't really go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. They go 0 to 100, and it's just not realistic or sustainable. And so it always starts, you always got to start with something small, something that you can do in the moment. Like you said, read a page. If you never read, then it's not realistic that you're going to read 2 chapters, 3 chapters in one sitting, because you're just going to read words and you're not going to absorb any information. So it's always a matter of, you know, starting where you can, you know, like you said, accepting yourself as in, yeah, you know what, I'm weak, you know what, I'm not at the point of my life that I want, but that's okay. I'm going to improve from there. I'm going to move from there, and I'm going to slowly start moving towards the person that I want to be. And that doesn't mean that you're going to wait to act like the person you want to be until you start acting like the person you want to be today. And so that is something even more powerful, that gives you way more power. Is to say, for example, I want to transform my body in the gym, right? How do I do that? What would a fit person do? And so that guides my decisions today. You know, even though my body may not be as the way that I want it to be today, I still act as if that body was already me today. And so that gives you so much power, because if you start acting like the person that you're trying to be, like the person at the ultimate goal, then that's what's going to get you there in time. But like you said, it always takes some time to start from wherever you're going to start, and kind of like build from that little by little, you know. I feel like the bad part about social media, it comes with comparison, you know, because you can see on social media, you can see all these guys that are huge, that are, you know, lifting this, that look great, you know, but a lot of people just see that and they compare themselves a lot to that, you know. It's really common on the, you know, gym, I guess, industry. And so part of the purpose of my brand is also understanding that everyone's different, you know, everyone's got their own story, everyone's got their own genetics, their own body. And thus the important part is the mentality that you have for it, you know, because I feel like that's key to everything. No matter how you look, no matter your goal, everything and nothing can be achieved if you don't have the right mentality for it. So when it comes to comparison, a lot of people have to realize that there are a lot of things that have to do with the way that people look on social media, for example. That is one aspect of it, you know, filters, good cameras, angles, whatever, lighting. You know, a lot of things go into making these people look like that. That doesn't discredit them from their hard work, but it makes people it disencourages them from starting in the gym, for example. I've seen that a lot of times where like, oh, I just don't want to look dumb. You know, I don't want to, I just don't want to look like I look, you know, because there are other amazing people out there that look like this and they make me uncomfortable, you know.
Comparison. Yeah.
The comparison is crazy. And I always tell them, you know what, like it got to start with yourself, you know, because who you trying to be? You're not going to achieve anything by comparing to someone random in the internet, you know.
And that random person could have been 300 pounds 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. You never know their story in the end, you know. Yeah. And so for the brand, I also, one of my main goals is to make this a common thing as well, to realize that a lot of the gains that you get, for example, in the gym, paired with mentality. You know, if you have the right mentality for it, then you can achieve just about anything, you know. And I feel like even if it takes time, if you have the right mindset for it, you're all good for it. And so that's one of the main things that I like to share with people and that I encourage people to do. Is just kind of worked on that mentality and just like I do every day. And that's something that I personally focus on most of the time. It's like, yes, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing this, but what am I doing mentally to become stronger, to become a little bit more sharp than I was yesterday, so that I can share this with other people and have the right perspective,
And that comes down to becoming more so that you can achieve more, right?
Exactly.
How can I become stronger mentally, spiritually, so that I can go to the gym, and when I don't want to lift anymore, I can keep lifting.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's an important thing too, because there are gonna, like you said, there are gonna be days that we're not perfect. There are gonna be days that we slack, that we don't feel like doing it. But that's when the discipline kicks in, that's why the mentality is so important, because, there's always going to be at least one day that you feel like doing nothing. But, once your habits are solid, once your habits are solid, once your purpose is solid, then the discipline kicks in and tells you, you know what? It sucks, but you got to get it done,
And it's today's 100%. When you felt way motivated to go to the gym, you might have the best workout of your life. Tomorrow you might not feel like it, but even if you're showing up and it's 80% compared to what your yesterday, it might be your 100% today. What matters is you went through the motion of doing it.
Exactly, and that's an important part of achieving something and going from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 and then eventually to 100 is doing it. Because if you only go on the days that you feel like it, then it's not really realistic, because
you'll never achieve your goals.
You'll never achieve it if you if you're doing one day yes and one day no. You gotta be consistent with it, with whatever it is, and that is why things like the brand that go with the gym paid really well in my life, and they click really well with me. And that I'm able to do it, passionately, is because the way that that you work out in the gym and the mentality that you have for it is just about the mentality that you can have for anything else. And it applies to anything, just like Atomic Habits, it can apply to anything. To have that discipline to get things done, to, when you feel like it and when you don't feel like it, to get those things done. You learn it in the gym, and then you can apply it to other things, and so that's why it's beautiful to have a habit, and for all the people that have a habit of working out, of running or playing a sport or anything like that, being an athlete, it's an amazing thing, because it teaches you that discipline that it takes, to build a business, for example, to have a relationship with someone. It's just about that discipline in life, to be able to do something consistently every day, no matter how you feel, no matter if you don't feel like doing it, but knowing that your purpose and your end goal is the most important part. And so if you have your purpose clear in your mind, in your head, then no matter what happens, you're going to be like, oh, okay, but I mean, I have a goal, so totally. I don't feel like it, but I have a goal. And then that kind of makes you feel like it, because you're like, well, if I don't go today, then I'm going to feel bad about it. And I don't want to feel bad about it. And kind of pushes you to it.
And to speak to that, I mean, yeah, obviously I'm grateful to meet one of your good buddies here, but you have a community around you. And if you ever do struggle with discipline, I would encourage you guys to, if you don't have close friends, because in this world, sometimes people don't have close friends. And that's an unfortunate truth, but that's part of the process. But be willing to go find a group.
Yeah.
Even my Prosperous Life membership, we're a community that I coach every single week. We get together. We coach around amazingness. I coach one-on-one. But at the end of the day, there's that community where they hold each other accountable to their goals, and they become more and they achieve more together.
Yeah. And
everybody doesn't feel like showing up once in a while.
Yeah.
It's having the friend to say, hey, get your butt in gear and let's go to the gym.
Yeah. And like you said, I can even relate to that. At one point, I feel like, in a way, I've always had some friends, right? But for the longest time, I didn't have a group that actually benefited me with my goals until recently, until last year, middle of the year. And so to have a group of people, like you said, is essential, just because we as humans are, receptible to anything, And so if you're with a bad crowd, inevitably you're gonna become like them. If you're with people that drink, that smoke, eventually, even if you don't do it, eventually you're gonna somewhat become like that. Just because,
even if it's the mindset,
even if it's the mindset,
not doing the behavior, but your mindset might be like them.
Yeah.
You might be getting the same financial results like them.
Exactly. And so for me, something crucial, and that is something that we hadn't actually talked about, having that group of friends that are not only doing the same things that I'm doing. I'm talking about people that work out every single day too, people that are building businesses too, people that are doing amazing things, to have them do that, but also support you through your own personal ventures is something that changes everything, and that has the powerful boost. Because like we said, there are going to be days that you're not going to feel like it, that you're going to feel, probably like, lower than a previous day. But if you have that crowd of people, those friends that push you to do your thing, then it changes everything. Because then you're like, okay, like, my friend is going, so like I'll go, even if it's for that. But in the end, you're going, and that's what matters in the end. Exactly. So yeah, and like you said, not everyone has the fortune of having a good amount of people in their lives that are this good. But like you said, there are always ways to find the right people. Like you said, even if it's a coaching group that they can join, or a community, a club. It's not always your friends, but you can also look for people that are in doing the things that you want to do. For example, you can look up for a mentor. I've even had mentors that I don't even know. Like I look up to people that are from books, that are from podcasts, or creators that I look up to, and they help me in a way. Maybe not as they're not my friends, I don't know them, but I see what they're doing, and that inspires me. And
the fact is, those people, how do wise people become more wise? They look to wise people.
Yeah.
They go and learn from them.
Yeah.
And the people that aren't as wise, they read, they experience it on their own, they reflect, and then they become wise. A wise person goes to a book, gets the knowledge, skips the experience, skips the reflection, and immediately implements it.
Exactly.
And then your results compound so much quicker over time.
Yeah. And yeah, like we said, like sometimes it doesn't really require you to have friends or like the people around you. Sometimes, not all of us are fortunate enough to have these close friends or family that support us, and sometimes we do have to look other places for great people, because good people are everywhere. And even if we're not fortunate enough to have those people close to us, we can always find someone that is, doing the things that we want to do, or that is a good influence for us. And, influences are everything when it comes down to becoming better or getting out of a low point. It always works. Like even for me, when I was starting my own gym journey, it was so crucial to have like certain people, my brother's wife, and that she was always, she's one of the few people that actually supported me through my journey of the gym, to starting, because, when I started, I was always super skinny. I was always the skinniest kid around anywhere. And so you can imagine I would always, I would always like hear about it,
Yeah.
And that, I didn't like how that made me feel. And I always hated it. And, even in my family, when I was younger, my uncles or even my parents, they would say like, oh yeah, like you're skinny, but like, it's okay. Like, it's your genetics and you're beautiful like that, whatever. But I never liked that idea because I didn't like how it made me feel when, like, for example, I would go to school and they would like, make a comment about me being skinny and stuff like that. No, I never liked how that made me feel. And so for me to like hate that, I said to myself, well, there has to be another way, there's no way I can like not improve, And so when I met the gym, I met with beautiful people like my brother's wife that introduced me to the gym, that kind of like made me open my eyes and see that there's a solution, I guess, especially to the mindset side of things. It was like, it changed my whole life completely, you know? And so for me to feel like this is what inspired me to create something that can inspire others to know that they can do something about whatever they feel like it, you know? Not because someone doubted you, that means that it's all set for you, you know? That doesn't mean that because someone has a perspective of you, that doesn't define you, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, that was probably the biggest lesson that I've learned in my life, is that no matter what others say about me, I define myself, you know? I decide who I am. And that is the most powerful truth that I hold up until this day, is that if I want to be someone, I can be that person, you know, regardless of what anyone says. And I can do whatever I want, in the sense that I can be whoever I want. I can work on the things that I want to work on. And no matter what anyone says, in the end, anyone can do this, you know? And so when it comes down to the brand, my personal mission is to share this with people, you know, and make them realize that no matter what anyone says, even if it's like from family, which sometimes is the hardest part, you know, because you grow up hearing things that are not great, you know, that make you feel like, oh, then it must be like this, because, you know, if my mom, my dad is telling me this, then it must be, there must be no other way, you know. But to make them realize that there is a way. There is a way to become better. There is a way to do things for yourself, and you know, to work on yourself regardless of what anyone says. And if in the end that's the, you know, I would have to have one thing to say about the brand, would be that, you know, that anyone can achieve whatever they want. You know, people get to choose whoever they want to be. They can choose their identity. And so for that is, I guess, the most important part of my life, that most important lesson that I've learned.
I love that. You have so many insights to share. I mean, the fact that you, little over a year ago, were in your bedroom to just barely picking up Atomic Habits and really starting to take your purpose and your connection to God seriously, to now, I mean, building a community, to a brand, to really starting to impact people's lives. And, you know, I look at it as we have a lot of mountains to climb, but I look at you as that you've climbed the top of the mountain. But it's not just you that's made it to the top. You've brought others along the journey with you. And you're the reason that they're at the top of the mountain as well. Wow. So I really want to see you for that, because you really are making an impact. I'm excited to see where you end up.
Oh, I really appreciate that, man. The way I see it is, you know, when people talk about changing society, you know, a lot of people be like, well, you can't change society and everything, but it all starts with yourself, you know. If you want to make change in anything, first change yourself and work on yourself, because you cannot influence other people if you're not working yourself. Sometimes, you know, some mistakes that I had in the past were thinking like, oh, I wish this person was like this, or I wish this person was like, you know, more disciplined or whatever. And, you know, when I was barely starting in the gym, right? And then I realized, no, like if you want this person to be like that, then make sure you are that person first, you know? And that is a whole complete shift in mindset that changes everything. Because, you know, when I wonder and I sit in my studio and I think, how can I make something that has the biggest impact for my brand? How can I give the best message for the people that are looking at the brand, that are looking at me? And I think about it and I'm like, well, first and foremost, I gotta make sure that I'm working on myself, that I'm constantly trying to improve and become that better person. Because just like I told you, just like we said about other friends and circles and everything and influences, if you're able to work on yourself and become that better person yourself, then you can influence others to also work on their things, you know?
Yeah.
And the way that I see it is, I'm on a constant climb, you know, you talk about the top of the mountain, but for me, I just like to enjoy the process, you know, I just like to see where I'm going, to have my purpose clear, to have, you know, as clear as I can, you know, and constantly be analyzing on myself and wondering if I'm going in the right direction for what I want to be doing and for what I want to do in the future. And it's just about, you know, enjoying the process and enjoying that climb, you know, because I don't believe that we truly reached like at the top just because I don't think that we can be completely perfect. There's always room for improvement. And I think that's a powerful truth to that, you know, because if there's always room to improve, then you can always be better, you know, you can always work on something and be better than yesterday. And that is something that motivates me every single day, just to know that, you know, tomorrow is going to be a better day. Why? Just for the simple fact that I'm going to be doing my thing to become better, you know.
Love
and sharing that with everyone, sharing that with, you know, my friends, obviously my inner circle, but also for the people that are, you know, see me on social media, people that see me, you know, through the brand or stuff like that. It's just so that they can see that this is achievable and this is something that is really important and that really helps the quality of living, you know, of saying like the process is the main part and the process is what gets you the results. And if you love the process and you focus on the process, then you get infinite results technically, you know, because you're always improving and you're always moving forward. And you're a better person every single day. So
it's winning the day, right?
Yeah.
Your habits, if you set that baseline to where you win your habits on a daily basis, you will have infinite results, because even if you set that goal and you do nothing, that goal's not going to be achieved. But if you set that goal, you recognize where you're at now, and you establish the habits to get to that goal, you'll win because you're doing the actions to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely process.
There is one question that I ask all my guests. Is I believe it's one of the most important questions to ever be asked. And that is, what is your definition of a prosperous life?
Oh, that's a good question. And, you know, as I think about that, I think I always wonder and I always try to analyze some sort of variation of that question. For me, a prosperous life is living a life with purpose, you know, is living a life that you can be happy with, you know, because the mere fact of, you know, just living because of living has no impact on you. I think like a lot of people just live life and go through life through the motions, you know, that they just let other people decide for themselves. You know, they let their job, they let their boss, their manager, or their clients decide for themselves. And they have no control over their own lives, you know. And just as I was reading, sometimes the best, or the, what's it called? The part that you can be most benefited from being, for example, financially free, is to be able to manage your time and spend it however you want, right? And so for me, when I think about a prosperous life, I think about my purpose, and I think about how I'm trying to live every day, live with purpose and live with a mission of things that I want to achieve, things that I want to do, and how I can impact other people as well. You know, if I know that if I make some type of impact, maybe not only on the world, maybe on someone I love, then for me, that is already living a prosperous life, because I'm already doing something that is worth a little bit more than other things. You know, if I'm helping somebody, if I'm serving someone, then in the end, that is all that matters. And when it comes down to the future, for example, if you're able to have that type of freedom to spend your days however you want to spend them, with your loved ones, if you don't have to live by the expectations of nobody else, then for me, that's a life that is worth living, you know?
100%.
So definitely something that I always think about, when it comes down to thinking about my goals and the future is just thinking, what can I do today that will get me to my destination, that will get me to the goals and the ultimate part of my, my purpose. So
I love that. That's so powerful. And honestly, if this podcast has been transformational for one reason and one reason only, is if anybody listens to this, no matter where they're at, they would be able to reestablish their foundation. And if you listen to this podcast, and the person that's still listening to now, if you can set that solid foundation and you pair that right with your purpose, you will have infinite results.
Definitely.
And just to summarize, be willing to go along this journey. Don't just go with the flow and what people have told you to be and what to do. Take your life by hand and make the decision for yourself. You determine the value. Choose who you want to be. Choose what you want to do and go after it. Doesn't mean you have to go jump right off the ledge and hope that you can build your wings on the end. On the way up, sure that there might be times in your life that you want to do that, but at least starting out, just enjoy the process of taking one step at a time. And within a year, no doubt your life will be black and white.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Just like the Atomic Habit says, if you were able to improve 1% every single day, then you would end up 37% better at the end of the year, and so for that, it's great because, if you can take single improvements, day by day, then you can, say a year, you can have a great compounded effect on your life. Just how, people like I was able to do it, to get out of a low place, a low spot in my life and be able to, have bigger aspirations. That is something great and something that I look up to on myself, and that I try to, I guess, emphasize for the future, to say like, okay, so if I was able to do this, then I'm able to do other things as well,
Of course. Now, to speak to that before we wrap this up, is there any last words you want to share with the audience?
Well, other than, life is pretty, I guess is complicated at times, and I think a lot of the times we struggle with a lot of problems in life, and it's just a matter of slowing down and analyzing everything, something that I started implementing was, at the end of each month, I just sit down in my room, no distractions, just with my journal, and I write about, the goals that I have for the month, as well as the expectations that I have for the next month. And so, life is always going to be up and down. And so it's just about setting the right expectations and having a plan for it too, And so for anyone that is watching that has this type of problems, that maybe is dealing with something hard in life, just sit down for a second and analyze where you're at and analyze the type of person that you want to become. There's a lot of power with, writing down how you feel, writing down your goals, writing down things, because that kind of transcribes them into your head. And so it kind of keeps them in your head rather than just saying it, right? And so for anyone that is dealing with stuff like depression, for stuff like anxiety, and things that are hard problems in life, then it might be really beneficial for you to sit down and analyze through your life and see what really is your purpose. And so I think that's what my ultimate advice for anyone that is watching is find your purpose.
Of course, I love that. Now, to speak to that, is there anything I and the audience can do to support you today?
I mean, just by having me here, it's a great support to everything. Just like I was, telling my friends, telling my family, the brand itself, obviously it's a business, it's everything, but more than that, it's a mentality, So for anyone that is watching, and for you for having me here, just by spreading this mentality, spreading this message, everything that we have talked about, that is the ultimate help in the end, to spread this among everyone, to create this culture of self-improvement, to create this, this bubble of knowing that you can do whatever you want, that you can achieve your dreams, that you can work on yourself. In the end, that's my ultimate goal. And so I thank you, for having me here, because this is a way for me to expand on the vision that I have for my brand. And so for anyone that is watching and seeing these things, for my own personal friends, it's of great help when we share this among others, and so.
I love that 100%. And we'll link it below, but just in case anybody's listening, what is the handle to Invictus on Instagram? So
the handle for Invictus on Instagram is just forever.invictus. But forever is kind of like FRVR, but it's like, it sounds forever. It's just the letters. So FRVR.invictus. And then for the website, it's just the same, FRVRinvictus.co. It's not .com, it's .co.
Cool.
And
then, of course, you're the most important person here. You're the man behind the brand. What's your handle on Instagram so they can follow you along?
On Instagram, it's just like _Gonz with double Z and then ._.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you. And I got to reiterate that this has been a year, and it looks like you've been doing this for like 10 years. I mean, just within the next year, I can already see where you're going to go, and you're not even there yet. I'm excited for you.
Thank you so much, man.
I feel like I'm gifted with seeing who people are capable of being and what they're capable of doing in this world. And I just see some of the biggest things for you that I don't even know if you could even imagine. I see big things.
Thank you, man.
Now, to speak to that, I want to thank you all for showing up today. If today was valuable, please follow him. Really just share this podcast with somebody that needs to set a foundation for life. If somebody's struggling with anxiety, depression, heavy emotions, and thoughts, share this with them so that they can get a good foundation and so that they can start to live the prosperous life that they deserve, just as yourself. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.